Hello everybody. So now we've done this shallow copy of game and we managed to update the is getting out of penalty box and the current player fields in game. But we have the problem of how to update players or questions, because players and questions are just copied over untouched when you do a shallow copy, and if we want to update a player at the moment, we're going to be updating it in all of the copies of the game rather than just the latest copy. So in order to do this, we need to write a clone method for the player, and we can just write a clone with, and we also need a way to iterate through a list and produce a new list. And if we don't need to modify the player structure, we can just insert the old player structure in that location. But if we do need to modify the player structure, we can clone it, and then using our clone with method, and then insert the new player structure in that place. So we need a function on a player clone with. Let's call it that, just as we did for the game state. It takes a player and returns a player. So let's say ret is equal to @player. Let's just copy it over. This has to be done manually in Go. Other languages often have some syntactic sugar for this. An example of a popular language that has syntactic sugar for this would be Kotlin, where you can just copy a record and say which fields you want to be different in the copy. Now we apply our modifying functions, and then we return the value to return. Now we also have the problem of iterating over this list and producing a new list in which items of a certain index or the current index have been modified, and other items have been the item with the current index has been replaced by a clone with the modifications we want, and the other items in the list are just taken over. So let's make a function called mapIndexed, and just to show how generics work, we're going to take generics here, and this takes a function which takes an integer function which takes the index as an integer, and it takes a pointer to a t, and it gives a t back, and this runs on a list of t's, and it returns a list of t's. It's a basic idea. So let's make our ret. This isn't particularly difficult to do. For I t range t's, ret equals append ret f of it. It's a basic idea. Return ret. Good. So now we have our mapIndex method. Let's find something to apply this to. Maybe we could talk about how to use it first. So this means that we will be in the clone with method for the game. We will insert a function which operates on the whole game state, but replaces the players with a mapIndex to run over the players. That's the basic idea. Let's see where we can use this. There's an advanced player here. Let's use this one. So the idea is just return me dot clone with function on the game, and we're changing the players is equal mapIndexed function running on all the players. Let's now change the signature of the function to get this okay. It works on player and returns a list. It returns a player, sorry, not a list of players. And the way it does this is to say if I equals, it's not equal to, let's do it this way around, g.currentPlayer. We just say return p, we don't want to do it. Otherwise, we don't want to modify it anyway, we say return p.clone with func p.player. Let's change this one to p2.player. Then we can just say p2.place plus equals role. p2.place is that. Okay, there's a lot going on here. So let's take it apart again. Why is it unhappy with p being the name of the player? Because it's also modified here. Oh, we don't actually want to use that, do we? We don't want to have the player object introduced here. That's a bad sign. That's a bad sign because we're now caching the player object here. Oh, yes, there's lots of state being cached. Let me correct that and then I will come back to this because this is an important point. Let's go to the advanced player method. So what we're doing is we're cloning the game object and we are applying this modification function to the cloned object. And the modification function replaces the players list in the cloned object with a function mapped over, with a players list which has had a function mapped over it. What this function does is if the player is not the current player, then it just doesn't do anything. Just use the old object. There's no reason to create a copy because it's the same thing. But if it is the current player, then replace it with a new current player with these fields changed. Okay, and now the problem here, which I found here, was that we were introducing a player object and then caching the player object here. So this player object has been cached in the turn method. And if I didn't have this line here, which I've just written, p here would refer to the old object and not the new one. Let's see if this is totally clear. If I run it here and if I'd expect there to be problems, there are. Do the problems go away or are they better now? Yes, the problems go away. So there was a cached object here. And because we're now not modifying any objects, we are producing new ones, this cached object was the old object, so it has to be replaced here. Actually, we're no longer using this p here. This parameter, which we're passing, so we can get rid of this. Let's get rid of this parameter and take it out of the turn because we're not using it anymore. Okay, so that's the first field updated. I'm quite sure we're going to find more problems with cached objects, so let's make this video short so that I can redo any following videos where I get into trouble with cached objects.